Okay, this video is for all those Blender users out there who haven't tried Flamenco. That's a software package that comes with the Blender ecosystem. It allows you to set up a render farm, and it's pretty easy. So my name is Aaron Belchamber from nextdayvideos.com, and I'm going to walk you through that process really quick, show you how I set it up and how it works for me. So here are the steps to set up your Blender render farm. You got to make sure you take these steps on every machine that you're going to want in your render farm. And so every computer can be a Mac, it can be Linux, it could be Windows. Every machine must be on the same network and mapped to the same network drive with the same drive letter. So in this example, my networked shared folder is in the root of my E drive on my Windows machine, which will be used as the server, the main server. And all the other computers that will be used in the render farm will be clients that will connect to this main server. Now you can have your server on any machine. I usually have it on the one I use the most. I have access to because I RDP, I remote desktop into these other machines on my network. And there'll be other ways you can automate that process. So every time the other computers that are in your render farm just turn on and automatically start running Blender, and they also have to run Flamenco. And there's two parts of Flamenco that run, so I'll get into that as well. So here you have to make sure you download the latest version of Blender. Go to blender.org, and every machine that's on your render farm has to have the same Blender version to work properly. Once you do that and you install Blender on all your machines, go and set up your shared network drive on every computer the same way. Just map them all using the same network drive letter. I use R for render. It's always something I always had set up. And I name the folder network shared. This can be any folder on any drive, but when other computers connect through the network, they're going to see the R drive, and it looks like it's the root of an actual drive. So it's just an alias that points to a different part of the disk. So once you do that, then on all machines, you have to go onto flamenco.blender.org and download the latest version of Flamenco and extract it and install it. And I usually put it in my own Blender Flamenco folder in my network shared root. And inside there is where I save the latest versions. The latest version of Flamenco is 3.4. And then what I do is in the root, I create these aliases here. So you don't actually have to install Flamenco on all your machines because you have a network access from these other computers. You can actually execute Flamenco across the network. So there might be some security concerns with some of the computers, so I just set them up all locally. It doesn't usually take that long. Okay, so here are the next steps. You're going to need a Blender project. Any multi-frame animation will do. And on the computer you want to use as the manager, this is the central server where you're going to be able to control all the other computers on your render farm. You want to run the Flamenco manager first, then open and run Flamenco worker. On the Flamenco manager, there's going to be a pop-up from the command line. There's going to be some output. Copy the IP address from there. Then go on to every other computer that's going to be on your render farm and open the Flamenco worker that you already installed. Then on your Flamenco manager computer, be sure to go into Blender, go to Preferences, install and update the Flamenco add-on. And inside the add-on, you'll see a form field for entering the IP address. So paste your IP address in there, then save the preferences. Now you're ready to test a render job. So in the Blender project, go to Output Settings, and then go to the Flamenco tab, which is down at the bottom. You'll then enter in the network path for the job. The absolute network path, the one I recommended was R drive. So for me on Windows, it's r:\renders/, and I'll probably make a new project folder, which I highly recommend to keep everything organized. Now on Linux, of course, it's a /, and on Mac as well. So then you press submit, I believe, and then it should send the work to the Flamenco manager. Now at this point, you don't even need that Blender file open anymore. You can close Blender because in the background, Flamenco Manager will open and manage another instance of Blender to actually do the rendering. So then you can monitor the work by entering in the IP address followed by :8080. That's a special port number assigned to it. And it'll open up a web browser that will show you the work in progress. And inside there, you have some ability to manage the render and the resources and the other computers. You can pause the other computers in case one is acting slow. You can also do some troubleshooting. There might be some errors with paths or missing materials, and it should give you enough information so you can troubleshoot. Okay, before I go through a walkthrough, I want to cover some of the pitfalls I've encountered in the past using Flamenco. Sometimes the IP address of the Flamenco server might change. Now, I suspect in the newest version of Flamenco 3.4 that this doesn't happen anymore. But if you're using an older version, even 3.1, I encountered this issue. Just sometimes the Flamenco server changes the IP address. So what you have to do is in Flamenco, go back into the add-on and put in the new IP address, which you get when you first open the Flamenco manager in that command line output. Also, be sure that the paths are the same for each machine or it's going to get confused. I created that R drive that's network mapped. So every machine needs to think that they're saving to the same exact path across the network. Also, loss of network connectivity is going to be expected, right, with machines. Those should automatically recover. You can also reorder jobs with the priority numbering, which is useful if you have one render that is a higher priority. You want to get that finished first. You can change the priorities and it will just start rendering that latest project. And the nice thing is once you set it and forget it, you can have 20 Blender projects in the queue and they can all just be prioritized. So it's really nice because, you know, some of these renders can take days to complete. So just imagine without Flamenco, without a render farm, you're only using one computer and just sometimes Blender freezes. So this is just a much more productive way to ensure all your renders get done. And finally, check out SheepIt online. I don't get paid or anything, but I've used it in the past. And it's kind of a fun way. You can help out, you can contribute to other Blender artists to speed up their renders. And also, when you're ready, you can leverage it and you get credits. So all you have to do is offer up your computer processing when you're not needing it for something else. You get credits. So then when you're ready, you can leverage other people's machines. So it's a interesting community rendering farm online. So here's my network shared drive that I set up on my data drive on my Windows machine. Once you have the network shared folder, you then go and you can map it. You map a folder after you share it, clicking here, and you can go sharing. Make sure you share it, and you'll see a network path. You're going to need that network path. And here you actually set up the privileges. Once you set up the network path, you go to this PC and you will go to Map Network Drive. You will then get this pop up here and you will assign a letter to the shared folder. The shared folder is here. It's already entered for me, so I won't do it. And of course, the easiest way is to make sure you use reconnect at sign in. So here's where you download Flamenco. Go to flamenco.blender.org, click the download button, and select the right installation for your computer. You'll download it, and then you would extract it. And this is where I save mine. I've got a network shared folder in my main drive, my E drive, where all my work projects are. And inside that network shared, I have a Blender Flamenco. And usually I just create shortcuts, and I bring the shortcuts here. Notice I've got a renders project, shared materials, and here's a list of actual projects. And from any computer that goes to the R path, notice when I click the R path here, it looks like that's the beginning of the drive, even though here network shared is a folder. That's how mapping actually works for networks. So we have other things that I want shared across the network, certain things that might get linked. It's a good idea to have an assets folder. So let's go and set up a Blender project and send it to Flamenco. And then I will show you what you need to do to get your render farm up and running. So here's my Blender project, and I'll go and open up something recently I've worked on. Here we go. Here's the animation. Let's go to a lower res mode here. Here's the animation. Now I am going to send this animation to my render farm so I can get it done faster. So the first thing you need to do, if you haven't done this yet, is go to Preferences and go to Flamenco. Type in search, and you should see it down here. If you haven't yet, then you need to actually install the add-on. You install the add-on by opening the manager. So we need to run the manager by double-clicking. And here it goes. And there's that IP address I was talking about earlier. Basically, all you really have to do is remember this number, because it's always 192.168.1 dot something. And then it's going to be :8080, which is the port. So just remember 117. You can go back here. And if you do not see this, that means you've never installed the Flamenco add-on. And the Flamenco add-on version needs to match the version of Flamenco that you downloaded. And what you have to do is, to install the add-on, you'll be provided a link once the Flamenco manager is running. So from this IP address, you type that into your browser, and notice here, it was actually 102 a couple of times ago when I opened it. So the IP address will change, unfortunately. So once I go here, you'll see it'll open up this main page. And this is where you click Get the Add-on. I already did that. Here's the add-on zip file. It's a zip file. You do not have to extract the zip file. Just download the zip file, and then in Blender, that's where you would click Install, and you would find the add-on. You would click it, and you click Install Add-on. Then open this up in Preferences, and here's where you need to update that pesky IP address over and over again. I thought in the newest version that it wouldn't need to do that. It would stay the same, but probably because I'm on DHCP, or it just they can't always stick to the same IP address. Not sure if that's ever going to get fixed, but anyway, here is the folder. As mentioned, mine is the R drive. And I don't know what this is either. Haven't seen this one before, but it says Project Finder Blender Project. Okay. So click the hamburger button and save preferences. Now, once you do that, you're ready to send it to the render farm. And usually when you're ready to render in Blender, you would go to Output here in the Output tab. You'll see all this stuff. Go down to Output, and you'll have your settings. You also have your frame range, 30 to 240. And notice this menu here, this Flamenco 3 menu, is where you'll open it. The job name usually is the same as the file, the project name. Scene from range, that's a new one. It's linked, so you can override that and you put in your own frames if you'd like. So since this is just a test, I'm going to just do 30 to 35. And here you would make sure that you have the right path. It has to be your R drive, your network shared mapped drive. So every computer will see the exact same path. So we will accept that path. Oh, now I messed up. Now I have to go to projects. Now what do I do? Projects. Oh, renders, sorry. Coffee animations. Jacksonville coffee. This is the beans. Here we go. Now, I'll just save it. I want to save it in here. You'll see what else it'll do. And you click Submit to Flamenco. As long as there's no issues, this will eventually package everything, send it to Flamenco, and get the OK. While that's doing that, let's open up the browser to the Flamenco server. And still hasn't come in yet. Here's the one computer that is already connected to Flamenco. You could click that on. You could also schedule it when it's available for your render farm, and you can also remove it here. You'll see the notification symbols here will be different colors depending on whether if it's awake or it's asleep or unavailable. You also have these other options that can apply to the computer. So you can tell it to shut down after the task gets finished. You can shut it down immediately. You can also wake it up. And here we'll list the jobs. Clicking jobs, you'll see the jobs that get sent. Don't know why it's taking so long. And this is and these two are basically the same. List the jobs. That's where you get the add-on. Tells you the IP address. Notice you can click it to copy, so it's easier to set up when you go to Blender into the preferences. For some reason, this is hanging. Of course, it's because I'm doing a demonstration. Let's see. Let's open. And while we're doing this, so the manager's open. I wanted to show this progressively, so show you what's going on here in the background. But let's go and run the Flamenco worker. Now, the difference between a worker and a manager is that the manager is the controller of all the other computers that will render on the render farm. And you can run the Flamenco manager and the worker on the same computer, but you can only run one manager at a time, or it will get confused. So the nice thing is it self-discovers where the Flamenco manager is running, so you don't have to update the IP address in 6 different spots. There's also some config overrides that you can provide for Flamenco, and it's been a while since I've looked at the documentation, so it may have changed. So it may enable you now to actually create a static IP that won't change. I'm not sure. That is just one of my little pet peeves with Flamenco in the past. But as you can see, Blender is not responding at the moment. Not sure why. So looks like I'm going to pause this video, and when it's back online, I will continue. Here we go. So workers, it says starting. Notice the change in the icon there, change of the color. Oh, so while we are waiting for this to come online, Not sure why this is frozen, but while we're waiting, let me show you how I connect a remote computer, a client, a Flamenco worker, they call it, to the render farm. So I'll go on Windows at least. I will type in RDP for remote desktop, and let's open it. And everything's slow right now. So I already have my desktop connection here with my user. So I'll click connect. And I have my desktop already running. It's on the network. And we will connect to it. Do you want to connect despite? Yes, it's okay. It's my local network. So things are a little slow right now. And Blender is still stuck. The faded white screen of death. Okay, so on my remote computer that I remote desktoped into earlier, I just downloaded on blender.org the latest version of Blender. So I'm going to install that. The Blender version I have is the same on every computer on the render farm. I have been able to get different versions of Blender to run on the farm and render the same file, but inevitably that causes problems or at least inconsistencies with your render. So, okay, so Blender is downloaded. I also downloaded the Flamenco locally, even though I'm pretty sure I could have just ran it from the network. And so here's how you know everything is working okay. You should, on your remote computer, see the other computers. And the same thing goes for your whatever you're running your manager on as well. So this is in the remote computer. As you can see, I'm on the remote desktop. This is actually my computer here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to run Flamenco Worker. Let's run the one across the network, see if that works still. I do know it worked in the past, but let's give it a try. At some point, we should see the command line pop up. Doesn't look like it likes to do that. Okay, let's minimize this. Let's refresh. Now I'm on my machine, and this is the Flamenco manager. And as you can see, the job was submitted, and it's blue. It's waiting. It says it's queued. And here, once you click it, you can get other information. Here you can actually cancel the task, or you can requeue. And you'll see a list of all the frames that will be assigned. And that will be assigned to different workers. So here are the workers, and here my laptop has errored out because I stopped the worker at the moment. So let me start the worker on my laptop here. And it should pop up. There we go. And once you see information like obtain task, etc., you should have a pretty high confidence it's connecting. So now in Flamenco, you can see both the desktop, the remote computer, and the laptop are both connected right now. So once you do that, you can go to jobs, click the job. And of course, if you have multiple jobs, you'll see them all here. And that's where you can do different things with them. Reprioritize, you can cancel it and restart. And here you'll see what's active. And it'll give you more information about the job up here. It's so frame 30 was sent to my laptop. And frame 31 was sent to my desktop. So in the background, another instance of Blender will be running. What I like to do is close out the job I actually sent the animation from, just to free up some memory. So I will quit Blender. Quitting your regular instance of Blender is not going to affect Flamenco's in your render farm at all. It should just free up a little bit of memory on your machine. So here we go. We'll remote back into my other machine that we can confirm successfully connected to Flamenco as well. Oh, but now we're getting an error. Context deadline exceeded. I'm not sure. My network's a little slow right now for some reason. I don't know if it's because at this machine I haven't had it on in a while, so it's downloading updates or something, but it's extremely slow right now. So obviously that is something of a challenge you will have when you have 8, 10 computers on your render farm. You're always going to have an issue with one of them, chances are. So anyway, I'll come back once a couple of renders are complete, and we can go over a little more of the Flamenco interface. Okay, just a quick recap. Here's the render of the frame that was completed, and here's a few. You can go to last rendered, which is always nice. If you want to just have it monitoring in the background, you can actually just keep this up so you can see the progress made in all its resolution. And so, yeah, here's the job. Here's the list of renders active. You can then select and filter just to see active. Here's a list of the completed and active, and all the jobs in the queue, so you can get a list and anticipate what work still needs to happen for each job. So that's basically Flamenco. So thanks for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or you want to share your own experiences about Blender and Flamenco, love to hear from you. Also, if you could click the like button, the subscribe, the bell, or whatever else, I'd appreciate it.